Monday.com AI agents took over my work, and I absolutely love it. Chasing deadlines, writing status reports, updating stakeholders. Agents handle the daily grind now. I stay in the loop only when it matters. Create your own AI agent in minutes on Monday.com.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for All Stars 11, Episode 12, titled Disco SmackDown for the Crown. My name's Joe Batance, and I am joined, as always, by one dancing queen. I was trying to think of disco ones, and I was like, I feel like they used them all. From the podcast Pod is my co-pilot. Please say hello, hello, hello to Taylor, the Latte Boy. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, how are you? I sounded like Lori when I did that. I did the Lori Raga Gab. Hello.
Hello. Yeah. Well, we all turn into Lori eventually.
Oh, God.
I had road rage earlier, and someone threw a soda in my face when the window was down. It's the whole thing.
I pooped my pants before.
Oh, yeah. I now clean my ears out with a stick on camera and, like, keep it under my chi-chis.
I was going to say that you pull out from under your breast.
Yeah. By the way, this kind of... Taylor and I did talk about...
Did you forget that fast?
No. We talked about... I'm just trying to say, like, what? How would you describe... It was a potpourri, if you will.
Yes, a hodgepodge.
Of topics. A hodgepodge of topics over at patreon.com/Afterthought Media on Just Between Us Girls at the executive tier level and above. Or if you're an Apple Podcast, you just sign up and you get it as well. And so go ahead and do that. Join there. We talked about a lot of different things. You saw a baby Joe Batance? Well, baby faggot Joe Batance.
Baby faggot Joe Batance.
What the thing I hate the most about it's not even the shirt is you don't see it as much in that photo, but my hair is atrocious.
Your hair's so not bad. Great. Yeah.
No. I didn't know what to do with my hair then. I wish I could have my current. I finally figured out. Well, you know what it is? I'll tell you. I was concerned about having a proximity to whiteness. And so I thought that if I just cut my hair short, people would think it was straight. And I didn't love my curls. I think if I would have like leaned into the waviness and the curls and cut it sort of the way it is now.
Embrace them.
Yeah. I will say this though. I have a lot of the reason I'm at I think you need to have a Mexican man or whatever your race is. That person for the most part needs to cut your hair. So I have a cool young Chicano guy who cuts my hair, and I think he knows what to do. I had a Chicano woman cutting my hair, but man, she was a little bit older than me, and she was always trying to make me look like Kim Jong-un. And I was like, girl, this is not the tea, right?
I look at hair that I had in high school, and I didn't know what to do with it either, because I have poker straight hair. And it's where I would always try to cut it short, but then I would go 4 or 5 weeks between haircuts. So it would just stick straight out in every direction. But then when I first got it cut and it was super, super close, it was like, oh, this looks really good. And then I would just, it's horrible. I will try to see if I can find a high school picture and send it to you so that you know what I look like in high school too.
You sent me pictures of you in high school before?
Oh, I have?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know what you look like. Sometimes I see people on TV and I go, that looks like Taylor in high school. But I can't remember who they are. But there's a picture of me. I did not send. There's a lot of pictures that my friend sent me that I did not send to you. I just sent you that one because I'm giving. I sent them to Robert and Christian last night. I'm giving Ariana DeBoe's realness. I look like I am playing Anita in West Side Story. Which, ironically, these are pictures from a production of West Side Story. But anyway.
Yeah, you look like you're growing a haircut out. It's not.
God, it's not. I wish I had good hair then. I might, just for my own, not to send to anybody or anything, just so I can feel happy, I might put my photo into ChatGPT and have it fix my hair. Just so I look at it and go like, this is what I could have looked like in high school.
That's actually not a bad. Oh, now I want to do that too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
maybe we put that in. We'll put that on. I will do that with you as well, and then maybe we can post it on the Patreon.
All right, sounds good. All right, why don't we do this? Why don't we take a break? I'm sure. Do you have? I got an email about the finale from Katie, and people are like, "Oh my God, let's talk about this finale." But I have things to say. But do you have like do you have a lot of takes on this finale?
No, not a lot of takes. I definitely was. I was entertained by this finale.
Totally entertained.
It was good. It hit a lot of the right notes. It hit a couple of lousy notes too. But I sat and watched the entire thing. At no point was I playing on my phone or anything.
Look, here's the deal. And I'll say this right now.
Mm-hmm.
Disco songs are essentially perfect lip sync for your life songs.
Oh.
Or even pop songs that are inspired by disco or have that same sort of beat and rhythm and cadence and feel are perfect for lip sync for your life song. So all these songs, I don't know if you feel this way, but every song was a perfect lip sync for your life song.
Oh, we're going to talk about the songs.
Oh, all right. Well, we're going to talk about them right after this break. We'll be back right after this.
Hey parents, how do you make smarter choices for your kids' college today? That's where Sally can help. With Sally, you can find scholarships, funding options, tools, and guidance all in one place. And if you need a loan, Sally has options for different families and different situations. College is only worth it if you do it right. So don't just help your kid go. Help them go smarter. Sally.com/GoParents.
Looking for a protein shake that tastes as good as it performs? Meet Rockin' Protein Max. Packed with 50 grams of fuel, it'll help you keep up when your day won't slow down. And because it's always creamy and never chalky, every sip tastes great. Even better, it's lactose-free and has 0 added sugar. It's not every day you find a protein shake you actually want to finish. Catch Rockin' Protein in the dairy cooler at a store near you. Rockin' Protein and Shamrock Farms are registered trademarks of Shamrock Foods Company.
If data management is slowing down your business, you need the Intuit ERP. If one entity is here, and one here, and one here, and one here, you need the Intuit ERP. If scaling your business feels like starting over, you need the Intuit ERP. Intuit Enterprise Suite is the AI-native ERP solution that consolidates, migrates, and automates, all in one place. Learn more at intuit.com/ERP.
All right, and we are back. I did take a little bit of the time to look at the during the break, to look at the comments in the chat room. By the way, remember, and this is true for, guys, if you join Patreon, that's another Patreon plug. Maybe we should go, now that Patreon's made it a little easier and there's this whole new aspects of the chat room, we'll go live more often, but you can interact with us live over at patreon.com. That's open to all the levels. And not only that, and you guys should utilize this feature. We have a lot of veterans though in the chat room, so they know this. I don't know, but Taylor might not know this. There's a Q&A section in the chat.
I see it. I see the little tab up at the top.
Yeah,
now.
And you guys are welcome to use the Q&A feature if you want Taylor and I to make sure and see a question that you have for us. We can look at it towards the end of the show. All right, Taylor, let's get into it. This week, the girls compete one last time in a lip sync SmackDown for the crown. For the final round, Joey J and Crystal Methyd went head-to-head in a lip sync battle for the crown. Horrible writing. Who writes these scripts? It's me. In the end, Crystal Methyd is named the winner of All-Star Season 11 and becomes the newest member of the Drag Race Hall of Fame. Taylor the Latte Boy, name 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
We're going to do something a little different this week with it being the finale.
We are.
And I want you to tell me what you think my top 2 things were. I want to see how well Joe Batance knows Taylor.
Well, I know. Okay, well, this could be. Here's the deal. And I actually have this in my notes. You mentioned in my notes. And this could be either a thing you hated, Oh, look at these wrinkles in my wrist. What the fuck is going on
here? That's just basic skin. Oh, God, my hands look I have old man hands. Good Lord.
People aren't watching the video. Okay. It looks like, oh, my God. Anyway, this could be either you hated it or you loved it. I'm going to go with hated. I put in my notes hated. So I'm going to start with hated. You hated this rendition of MacArthur Park. You hate that they brought it back and that nothing's going to top it with this Manila Luzon and was it Delta Work?
Delta Work and Manila Luzon.
And that they sullied it and it was not good. You did not like it.
No.
That's what I think
I don't. In fact, I had to think for a couple of seconds after it started, who was the one who originally did this? Like, I completely forgot about the Manila version.
All you do every
for like 10 seconds. For like 10 seconds.
That's the MacArthur Park lip sync.
I love that song.
Yeah. No, look, I have become comfortable with the fact that this is how, okay, well, you know what it relates to? We're going to do. So one of the things you liked, and I don't know if we've ever talked about this on the air. This might have been an off the air thing that I'm going to tell, is I went to Taylor one time, and this is right when I was starting my fitness journey that ended when I got the job. But, and I don't remember why Taylor and I were talking about this, but I said, I remember as a kid loving this song, but I can't find it. That Barbara, I'm talking little, like 6, that Barbara Streisand did, where she talks about boxing or something like that. And you're like, main event. And I was like, what? And you were like, it's the main, you knew me off the top of your head. And I went and I listened and I was like, yes, this is the fucking song. I've been looking for the song for so long. I love, and it is like, even now when I hear that song, it brings this like childlike faggot joy in me that I just fucking love that song. So I'm going to say you liked that part because maybe you remembered that. And the other thing you liked, Kyrie said the thing you didn't like, even though I'm wrong, is this stupid guy who was the pit crew person. He was hot.
Oh no, I didn't even think of that. I mean, yeah, that was fun to watch, but that wasn't necessarily one of the things. So one of the things that I liked, you actually already brought up the fact that there was a theme for all of this. It wasn't just random songs that were pulled. It was a disco themed finale.
Yeah.
I am sure you and I will talk a little bit more about disco and what disco means to gays of a certain age who grew up with that. So that was exciting. That was something I really liked. The other thing that I really liked was just the arc that we didn't actually, I mean, we kind of knew who was going to win, but when they started taking out the people everybody assumed were going to win, made it definitely much more interesting. And using the arc of Joey J over this episode was fun to watch. And we're going to talk about the Barbra Streisand lip sync shortly. The thing that I did not like is something that you and I have talked about. Sam Starr has been replaced, and that replacement is Jasmine Kennedy.
There's no replacement in my book. I've never liked her.
So where we're suddenly going to try to pull machinations and we're going to try to act. It's like we're all of a sudden she has never been my favorite person through this season so far, but I've sort of tolerated her, but this one, she left a really bad taste in my mouth. And she said a couple of things that I think we will talk about as far as that, you're not as good as you think you were. You just, as she said, played the game.
I always say we'll talk about this in the script, but I'm just going to have to start violating that rule because then we get there and I forget. Right?
Okay.
I need to hire a producer who comes on every recording and just pipes in when they go so they can say, we can do that actually. There's a producer feature on here so the recording doesn't come out, but they're in my ear. Mm-hmm. When actual Diego. And say like, Joe, you need to bring up this thing that you said you're going to mention. I need someone who does that. But also I'll bring it up here. We forget that Jasmine Kennedy shouldn't have been there.
Oh, no, we didn't forget that.
She didn't win any challenges on her bracket.
Mm-hmm.
She only made it because people gave her their points, which I'm not going to even get into the machinations part, right? She comes on this bracket, wins no challenges.
Right.
Right. And acts like she is like the entitled front runner. And I'm going to bring up a couple of other things too. Very brief aside about Tyler Catastrophe. And I think I brought this up before. And if you know, who cares? I'm not going to get into Tyler Catastrophe and who that is. But Tyler Catastrophe, and I'm only bringing this up to make a point, is a trans man. Okay? Mm-hmm. And Tyler Catastrophe is a ridiculous human being. And I've seen TikToks about this, and people just attack him online, right? And I've seen TikToks about from trans activists who are saying that as much as he's being attacked and whatnot, he's never attacked for being trans. They always gender him correctly, and they attack him for just being a ridiculous person.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And they never misgender him. They never attack him for being trans. That never even comes up. They attack him for being the merits of who he is as his character. And it's the same thing with just Jasmine Kennedy, right? Because I'm going to say something right now. I saw a TikTok that made a very good point, and I hadn't thought about it. Jasmine Kennedy doesn't even do drag. Like, there are other trans contestants, and they fucking do drag.
Yeah.
There have been cisgendered contestants. What was her name from England, the UK? She rolled her ankle.
Victoria Scones.
Yeah, Victoria Scones. She did fucking drag. It has nothing to do with gender at all. She doesn't even do drag. Most of the time, she doesn't even wear a wig. She's not putting on padding. She's always in some sort of revealing, like, one piece that shows off her body, right? She's not even doing drag. Like, she shows up and she's just woman, which is beautiful, but this is RuPaul's Drag Race. And so when I say drag, I'm not even talking female illusion. I'm talking about the hyper version of femininity.
Yes.
Whether you're cisgendered, whether you're trans female, whether you are a cisgendered male, right?
Whether you are trans male, like Gottmik. I mean, that's...
Gottmik you're right. Gottmik was a trans man who fucking brought drag, right?
Yeah.
And, but Jasmine doesn't even do drag. She's just a girl just walking on the stage, right? And you're like, what is this? And then she acts like she invented drag.
This is somehow the most dismissive and respectful thing we can... You're just a girl. You're not a queen.
Well, yeah, but you're not doing anything. Like, in other
that's
words,
a really good point. That's a really good point.
Look. I'll tell you women who aren't even on Drag Race who do drag. Dolly Parton does fucking drag. Elvira does fucking drag down, mama. You know, these women do drag, right? It has nothing to do with whether you're a woman or man. It's just bring some sort of Cher does drag. Bring some sort of hyper femininity to this. And if they allowed, drag kings and hyper masculinity, bring some sort of thing to this that is drag. And she doesn't even bring the most basic thing.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, she's a horrible person.
Yeah. She's just a pretty girl in a dress.
She's a mean, pretty girl.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anyway. After the elimination, the girls return to the workroom to decompress, discuss, and de-drag. The girls review the Raider Queen scores and discuss their reasons for their scores. The next day, the girls return to the workroom, eager to find out who among them will win the title. When they approach the table, there's a pink furry box with questions written by the queens for each other. The girls take turns answering the questions. Later in the workroom, the girls get ready for the SmackDown. They discuss their feelings and hopes and dreams as they prepare the final lip sync. Let's stop right there where we'll take it piece by piece. First, let's talk about everything that happened after the elimination. What are your thoughts here?
I get the need to sort of go through and list off who voted for who and that sort of thing. I guess, and I appreciate the comment that Silky made as far as look, I'll tell you why I put you 5. It's because I figured you and I were going to have to battle it out. So I wasn't going to, I was ready for, they said I wanted to lip sync. I was ready, bitch. I was ready. Mm-hmm. I guess I don't understand, or it was poor editing on the show's point to not show like Akira asking, why did you all put me 5? Like where it just suddenly was people, it almost felt like everybody was punching down at Akira saying why they voted for that, why they voted her last. It was just a weird editing choice, I thought, in that. And this is where you started to see the Jasmine getting mean and talking about Dawn and, Dawn what I saw in that moment was Dawn realizing, oh, everybody's piling on Akira. Let's kind of pull back a little bit, and Jasmine not letting up at all. It was just, it was an ugly moment, I thought, on Jasmine's part.
Peppermint does drag.
Anyway. You know who else does drag? Maddie Morphosis does drag.
Maddie Morphosis does drag. Yes. All the people who do drag, this has nothing to do with who she is. Anyway. Also, Doofus, I think it's Doofus. Doofus made a good point. She didn't even win any money either. Mm. She lets the show with nothing. She acts like she's, I don't know. Anyway, that gets into, we're going to discuss that when we get to Crystal as well. Because Crystal won everything. But I don't know if you saw this or not. But, a couple of weeks ago, and I think it was over on Just Between Us Girls. It might have been here. I talked about how there is this thing where people think that I'm very boastful of myself, and I don't understand that. And that John Paul said it's because I love being right. That's where it comes from. Mm-hmm. I love fucking being right. I love it. So last week, and I didn't know the reason why, and I think this is addressing kind of what you were talking about. I was like, of course, I usually go to conspiracy, right? I'm like, they're, playing 4D chess and they don't want to lip sync against her. So they're trying to get rid of her, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And it seemed crazy. But Jasmine openly said that there was a conspiracy against Akira.
Yeah.
Right? So I was right. And I talked about this on the Rumor Mill. I don't think you've heard it yet. When I recorded the Rumor Mill, I had not watched the episode yet. So I didn't even know that this is discussed. But on social media, Jasmine explained why the girls voted for her. And it's because Akira was a huge pain in the ass during that episode. She was holding up production. She was delaying production. She was rude to the production staff. And on top of that, now she brings this up on the show, but her puppets weren't even done. Now there's a matter of debate whether they needed to be done or not. But it was the girls were just not appreciating her behavior on set that day. And that's why they voted last for her. So that explains, maybe they didn't want to tell that to her face in the workroom, but that was the reason that they all voted her last. And then it makes sense why there was a weird vibe. I thought that Silky had turned them against her, but it was just that she was a pain in the fucking ass, which if you think about it, this makes sense now that we remember, we forget that she didn't show up to the lip sync Lollapalooza last time she was on All Stars.
Right.
And then also, I don't know if you tracked this, and we talk about this in the Rumor Mill, her odd behavior about this Silky thing during the past week with the weird live and all that. And I'm like, oh, there's some issues there.
Yeah.
And I think the girls saw this, and that explains a lot of this.
Akira is not, I mean, it feels like Akira is definitely sort of lashing out, or instead of trying to build goodwill at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. I know that she's now suing Silky for the cost of the television that she stole or
she sued her and she lost because Akira didn't show up for the court case hearing.
Oh, okay. I hadn't learned. I go by headlines. I didn't actually read the article, but I mean, just everything about it. It's just been somebody that I was genuinely, she was in sort of my top queens that I was rooting for at the beginning of this season and thought, oh, there's a good chance she's going to make it all the way. By the end of it, you're sort of like, I mean, you did some good lip syncs, but why are you here?
Well, it's sometimes the most amazing, talented people are big pains in the ass. And listen, here's the thing. And I try and say this to people, and I think you have a little bit of experience with this. Jay will attest to this. Nathan will attest to this. Look, I get it. Lori is very funny on the show when she's present, and I don't mean physically, I also mean mentally present. She's fantastic. She's a star. She's an icon, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But dealing with Lori logistically and practically from a record is a huge pain in the ass.
Yes, I've heard the stories.
Huge. Yes. I mean, it is so difficult. I don't want to speak totally for Jay Ellis, but a source very close to Jay Ellis, you don't get any closer, it was Jay Ellis, that a significant percentage of the reason why, I think he was already done with the tea.
Yeah.
But, I mean, a not insignificant mitigating factor was the fact that it's so fucking difficult to pin Lori down on a time, to pin her on a date, to get her to show up, to, it's just very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. And so, it's like kind of like when you hear those stories about, celebrities who are like, oh, this person shows up 5 hours late or something like that. Lori would be that person. Look, I concede I would be, as I've said before, Elton John throwing a piano over because, something wasn't done the way he wanted it, right? I concede that, right?
Right.
But I always feel it's for the sake of the product, right? And I just can't deal with incompetence. Mm-hmm. But Lori is, who's a person who I always shows up have you ever seen that clip of Betty Davis on The Tonight Show? I was just talking about this in some other show. Was it with you?
No.
Oh. So anyway, Johnny Carson's talking to Betty Davis. He says something like, I don't know if you want to talk about it right here, but is there anybody that you didn't like working with? I think he was going for Joan Crawford, right?
Oh, she said Faye Dunaway.
Faye Dunaway. And it goes off on Faye Dunaway, right?
Yeah.
And she explains why. And that's Lori. Lori's Faye Dunaway. Yeah. Lori would hold up production. She doesn't care. It's gonna wait for 5 hours. That's her. And so I think what I'm getting at is with Akira is what we see, the final product is fantastic, mm-hmm. right? But we don't see that behind the scenes. She's a mess, know. And you look, to go with someone who's beloved. You hear the same thing about Alyssa. Yeah. Alyssa shows up late. She's a diva. She's like difficult. She's a mess.
Yeah.
But we love her.
It's sort of well known, or it was well known when she was on tour, that if you went and saw a Madonna show, and it said the tickets that the show started at 8, she wasn't starting before 10:30 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just sort of, and it became like that's who she is. So we just know that we're going to sit here and we're going to listen to. I don't have time to suffer fools gladly like that.
I'm sure now that she's old, she's like, I'm going to start at 5. Be done by 7.
We're all going to go to Perkins, and we're going to get a sensible, breakfast dinner at 4:00. And then I'm going to do, my greatest hits.
Let's move on to the next day when they come back in, which is kind of continuing what we were talking about. So when they walk into the workroom the next day, there's a big pink furry box on the table.
Yeah.
And then they gather and they go, oh, this is the part that I hate about Drag Race. And they need to decide what reality is and not reality. I feel that they pay no attention. They build a world and then they don't pay attention to the own internal rules of that world. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the girls walk in and they go, what is this? What?
Yeah.
What? The queens wrote questions for us. We wrote questions for us. I'm like, you wrote the questions.
Did you think you were the only one writing questions, where they went to Dawn and said, come up with a couple questions and we're not going to ask anybody else to do it? So that's what we all wrote questions. That's amazing.
It was so weird. But then that says, oh, you guys asked, why do they act surprised? That's the part I don't get. What's funny is I do have the questions. Again, super producer Scott Dreyer put the questions here because there's a question where I'm so fucking dumb. I swear to God. I print these things every single week and I go, I got to be really careful. Make sure I put the holes in the paper correctly. And I always mess it up. I messed up today. So they printed, Scott Dreyer printed the questions.
Mm-hmm.
And the first question is, who is the least deserving of the crown? And they're going around the room. They're like, oh my God, who could ask this question? And then confessional Jasmine's like, it was me.
Yeah.
And the only reason I'm bringing that up is I think they knew. They make her answer first, right? And then, and she chooses Akira, and Kyria's like annoyed, but like whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, Joey chooses Jasmine, and Jasmine, who wrote the question, who went first, who said Akira, gets all offended.
Yeah. It reminded me, again, I'm a couple weeks behind on all the Afterthought shows. Mm-hmm. And I just listened to the episode that you and I did for the last episode of Bracket 3, mm-hmm. where we talked about the idea that girls like this, or you also use the example of Republicans, when they're winning, everything is great. But the mm-hmm. second somebody calls them on something, then suddenly it's, you're breaking the rules and that's not okay and all of that sort of thing. And that's what I think this was. She sort of fell into her own trap there. And the thing that she said was, she goes, well, I got you all to, her justification was, well, I got you all to give me your points. First of all, not everybody standing around that table gave you your points. But she goes, so that's why I deserve to be here. What? That's not talent. Do you think Ru's going to crown you because you convinced everybody to give you your points? It doesn't make any sense. So when she said, I don't think Joey deserves to be here, and Joey said, well, Ru saw something in me that you didn't, mm-hmm. And I think I'm going to pay more attention to what Ru thinks versus what you think. That to me, there was more of a justification there. Joey entertained Ru more all season. And so that's why she was in the running for the wild card, whereas Jasmine just sort of coerced, bullied, whatever you want to say, everybody into giving her the points.
Yes. Also, I think she made the mistake of thinking that a vote for her was a vote for her and not a vote against Sam. A good example is in 2016... Trump wins. Actually, what we could probably say for 2024. Trump wins because, there's a lot of people who like Trump, which is really stupid. I hate this country. Mm-hmm. But Hillary was a very polarizing person.
Yes.
And I think there's a not insignificant number who in 2016 voted for Trump, not because they liked Trump, but because they hated Hillary.
Right.
Yeah. And so, and it's the same thing here. I think Sam Starr wasn't very popular. He was seen as, he was new. They didn't really know who he was. And they were sort of he was seen as sort of like a person who just sort of dropped in. And I think people didn't like him. And he was a braggart and all that. And so they were actually like, when this happens last minute and Jasmine says, you got to vote for somebody. It was between Jasmine and Hershey LaCour-Jeté. And I think they were just like, all right, we'll just throw behind Jasmine. Hoping to get Sam eliminated, and then they both went forward, know? So in a weird kind of way for them, it didn't even work. But and I don't know why I would brag about manipulation either. Yeah. Now you're even bragging even more so that you're not deserving of the points.
Yes. Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. Thank God I made that point. It would have never gone across. Okay, so there's that. We did that. Okay, everything's good on my end. Any other notes here, Taylor?
Not for the only thing is, Silky looked sad through the whole. Did not seem very animated. Like even when they went over to the screen where they announced what the challenge was, or when Ru came out and said something, Silky had a look on her face the entire time where she seemed very distracted.
I don't know. You could be right, but I don't even want to begin to speculate. We don't really speculate on this show. No. I don't know why. It could be a number of reasons. Maybe she's just done with being around Akira. Maybe I don't know. Who knows? It could be she's just really in her head about what's going to happen to lip sync.
So Xavier in the chat said her grandmother had just died, I believe, but I could be wrong.
Oh, interesting.
That's all.
Akira asked
That's it. That's all I got.
Akira was like, "Where is the body?" And then Silky got. I have to say, I didn't give Nathan enough credit. He made that joke on Rumor Mill about something else, and that was a really good joke. I didn't give Nathan his flowers there because I was just trying to move on. But that Nathan made a good joke there about that. Okay, the finale day in the workroom. Any big thoughts there?
No, I know that I enjoy watching that where they're usually where they're putting on their makeup and they're sort of kikiing and reading each other a little bit in like a silly way. Mm-hmm. So that was sort of after the tension of the previous two acts. That was sort of a nice like palate cleanser for what was about to happen with the lip syncs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there wasn't much for me. The only thing I want to say, speaking of Silky, is in a confessional, she's like, I made the Lollapalooza popular. I'm like, you did? I think it existed before Silky, correct?
I think so, yeah. But it wasn't even the Lollapalooza. It was a game within a game. It was a completely different.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, because that was where you just kind of went along against each. Well, I guess it is kind of the same, but it was more one-on-one kind of thing.
And then she had the group again having them shout things. And I was like, Silky's really into getting the group together and we're all going to shout something.
Yeah.
And she did that again. Remember, the first one was when she was like, fuck you, bitch. And there was another one, attitude check.
Yeah.
And there was another one she did on another season. Robert's probably shouting in his car right now because I don't know it. And then this one, just always shouting things. All right, well, we are at the Lollapalooza now.
Mm-hmm.
We are, and you guys know how the Lollapalooza works. They have these brackets. Of course, because they never choose the right numbers, right? They always do these complicated things. So, Crystal went forward because she won so many things. So she went to the second round. Why did Jasmine go forward to the second round?
Because she had the highest average per capita or something for all of the episodes. The higher average points, which I didn't understand that. So does that mean that there was a point system throughout the semifinals that we just all weren't made aware of?
Because I know in the past two Rada Queen episodes, she scored pretty high.
Oh, so they were using Rada Queen scores.
I think they were using Rada Queen scores.
Well, that makes a little more sense. Because I took it as the point system from the previous. Because if that was the case, then Dawn should have been gone ahead. Because I think Dawn was the only one who had 8 points.
Yeah. All right. So the first one was in the first lip sync. It was Silky versus Dawn for the song Star Love. Any thoughts here?
We had which this is one of those like, well, duh things that I probably should have thought about prior to this lip sync. But a friend of ours that watches the show with us, he hates Silky and talks about how she's a prop queen and that she's always that seems to be the way that she kind of always moves forward is she randomly pulls a prop out of somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so I was waiting for the props. And sure enough, she came out with batons, but she didn't seem to be like really moving batons the way, like she wasn't twirling them. She was just kind of holding on the ends of them and swinging them around.
Yeah.
It didn't make a lot of sense. Oh, but something before then, the fact that 5 of the 6 girls came out in big, huge jackets for reveals was comical at this point. It was so, okay, do you think that we're all surprised that you're going to have something on under that? Just come out in the outfit or do something a little more creative.
It's not even like little. It's like they're huge, bulky outfits.
Yeah. But the lip sync itself between Dawn and Silky was okay. I wasn't surprised that Silky went through.
No.
But I thought Dawn did a good job where she said, I'm just going to be stupid. She was stupid, but she was stupid in a fun way. So that was enjoyable.
Yeah, I will say Dawn's lip sync skills have improved, but they still weren't enough, to move her forward. And so Silky clearly won this lip sync. I mean, there was no question about it. If anything, I would say, I don't know why Silky used all her tricks in this one. Dawn was such a no-brainer. She should have kept at least the batons hidden. But
well, she might have had another one hidden in there somewhere that we just don't know about.
Well, I think in the next one she does the glitter or something like that.
Yes. Yes, that's true.
All right, next lip sync 2 is Akira C. Davenport versus Joey J for the Diana Ross song "The Boss." What were your thoughts here, Taylor?
I realized pretty quickly. I thought for sure you're going to have Akira doing a Diana Ross song in an oversized white robe thing twirling around. And I thought, oh, Akira's got this in the bag. And I realized about halfway through, I was only watching Joey. Like, I completely stopped watching Akira and thought, Joey might actually have this one. So for that regard, even though I thought Akira gave great face a bunch of times, Joey was the one I couldn't take my eyes off Joey at this point.
So, as I've been annoyingly stating over and over again, I write these notes in real time, and it's very unusual for me to go back and revise them. So in my notes here, I have, something along the lines of Akira is winning this, but props to Joey because way more than I thought he would, was holding his own against Akira. Like, it wasn't embarrassing. I do think still that Akira had a slight, much closer than I thought, but a slight edge over Joey in this. I was watching both. I thought Joey really held his own. I thought he did a fantastic job. And look, he lands up winning this, right? And I wasn't like, what? That's awful. What a travesty. I was like, no, he did a good job. I could see why somebody would give him the win here. I still thought Akira had a slight edge, but maybe she was a pain in the ass. Maybe it's like, oh, yay, Joey actually did well. He deserves to go forward. Who knows?
Well, given what you just said about what a challenge she was for production, could that be why? Could that play into that on top of they didn't want to take the chance of Akira going up against Crystal?
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Good point there too, actually. I thought there's a number of reasons, I'm sure. But the point is, I think they were hoping Silky would have chosen Akira, but she didn't. It could have gone either way. And if Joey would have lost, I would have been giving a lot of praise. Like, I can't believe, yes, the fact that it could even go either way with Akira, fantastic job. So the fact that he won was a sort of like a nice little cherry on top. Deserved the win 100%. Next, we have Silky Nutmeg Ganache versus Joey J. Now we're in round 2, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We're in round 2. So now we have Silky Nutmeg Ganache versus Joey J. The song is The Main Event, the song that Taylor and I just talked about earlier. Any thoughts here?
First, as we talked about, that's one of my favorites. When it got listed of the 4 songs that they were going to do, I laughed and turned to my husband and said, because it was just he and I watched it yesterday afternoon. Unfortunately, the other guys couldn't come over. And I turned him and said, this is one of my favorite songs from when I was a little kid.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, really? So when it started, I immediately started smiling. Similar to when they did Enough is Enough, a couple earlier this season. The only word I can use, the word that I used to describe Joey's performance was joyous. Silky said early on that Joey wanted to pick that song, which I don't know why then Silky said that's the song we're gonna do. I was a little confused by that. I would think you would have picked the other song at that point, but which I don't remember we'll find out in a minute. But Joey, captivating. I sat with the biggest stupid smile on my face the entire time she was performing, and just I absolutely loved it. Probably going to go down in one of my favorite lip syncs of all time.
Really?
Yeah. Just because of how happy. I mean, I've used the phrase golden retriever to describe Joey J this season, and she was she was in her element. She clearly was just having so much fun. She was able to use technicality as far as the way she was moving. She talked about that she comes from a ballroom background. I thought that was apparent in her moves. It was just the full package for this song. And I for as much as I made fun of the fact that Joey J was going to be on this season, let alone get as far as she did, I ate my words with this performance. Absolutely loved it. Just kudos to you, mama. Joey J I can't say enough positive things about it. Like, my face hurt at the end of it. I was smiling so big. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm going to talk about the confessional that you said about Silky. So Silky says in a confessional, she goes, Joey told me privately backstage that she was going to pick a white girl song. And I was like, two people picked in the first round. It was Silky and Akira. And they both picked the black girl songs. One. Right. And two, there's only two songs left, and they were both by white girls. Which choice do you have? She's like, I'm going to pick it because he's like, and I'm like, there's only white girls left.
Yeah.
It didn't make any sense. Joey clearly won this lip sync. Okay. You know what's so funny? Again, I write him in real time. I was like, well, Joey won this lip sync, but I thought they were going to give it to Silky. That there were going to be shenanigans. So I go, in my book, Joey won the lip sync. So now analyzing it in hindsight, and I do have this note, and this often happens going with what your friend says with Silky in her lip syncs when there is a fail. 30% of the lip sync is Silky getting ready for her prop. And she's turning her back to the judges and walking to the back of the stage to prep the prop or whatever, or the stunt she's going to do. And she's not lip syncing. And it's like, bitch, lip sync the song.
Yes.
The prop works. And when you think of the best stunts, the vast majority of them work while the person is still lip syncing.
Yes. And it comes out of nowhere.
Look, the iconic, the best of all time landmark stunt is the Sasha Velour with the wig and the rope. She never turns around her back and walks to the back of the stage and you see her fiddling. She's just there, present, never stops lip syncing and takes the wig off, So if you're having to walk to the back of the stage to prep the thing, it's not working, mama. And that was the problem there. So Joey J wins that lip sync. And then the second one in round 2 is Crystal Methyd versus Jasmine Kennedy to Knock on Wood. Your thoughts here?
So I struggled with this one as far as I think Crystal won of the two. I think that Crystal got the gist of the song better. It sort of is a fun song to do, whereas I feel Jasmine was giving stripper in it. But the last time that song was used was at the finale where it was Anitra versus Sasha Colby, and Sasha kind of gave where she took off the dress and then she had on where she basically had on no clothes and was rolling around on the fur coat and all of that kind of stuff. And I think I'm trying to, because I've watched that lip sync multiple times just because I love Sasha Colby. I'm trying to figure out what the difference was, and I don't know if it's likability because I like Sasha so much and I couldn't stand Jasmine, or if it's, you talked about the fact that, she doesn't really pad, whereas I feel like Sasha gives more woman.
Sasha does drag.
Sasha does. Okay. Maybe that's it then. That's it. Sasha, that was drag rolling around. Whereas I feel like this was just a skinny girl in her, like negligee trying to impress a boyfriend sort of thing. And it didn't necessarily match up with the song. What?
You're giving her too much credit. She's more like the 14-year-old niece who makes everyone come in and watch her do a dance that she choreographed right there with all her friends, and she's like the star of the day. It's just, bitch, no, stop.
Yeah.
I hate her. I don't like her. Anyway. Yeah. Jasmine just rests on being pretty and that body. She thinks she should win just because of that. I'll be honest with you. Even with Crystal, I wasn't very impressed with this lip sync. I just thought it was mid.
Oh, it wasn't a great lip sync from Crystal either, but I understood why Crystal won.
Mm-hmm. And then, and so Crystal does win that lip sync, and she goes on to the big finale with Joey J versus Crystal Methyd to MacArthur Park by Donna Summer. Your thoughts here, Taylor? I almost called you Nathan.
So.
Uh-oh. Here it comes.
I think Joey won that lip sync.
All right.
I thought that she was, again, at this point now I'm excited to see what Joey does.
Yeah.
And I thought that I thought, is there a world where Joey J gets the crown? And how funny would that be to go from wild card to where you're the winner? I think, though, if we are looking at it, because that's kind of what Sasha Velour did. Sasha Velour never really won anything. She just happened to be the one that knocked out Shea in her season. So I feel like there had been... Rue was probably looking at it as an overarching... For the whole season. If that's the case, if that's the criteria, then yes, Crystal won. Because Crystal had more wins, Crystal, got the points to actually go to the semifinals, all of that kind of thing. It makes sense. It still feels very rigorous. It felt like it was. I just was not. I wasn't super. I was happy for Crystal. I would have been a lot happier if Joey had won.
Mm-hmm. I think my thoughts go into more of the final question. Once again, I thought Joey held her own.
Mm-hmm.
If they would have given it, the award, the crown based solely on who won the lip sync, and which is in theory what it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have given to Joey, I wouldn't have been like, what? Like, definitely held her own. I think that the song, the kookiness sort of favors a Crystal Methyd more than a Joey J. That said, for being kooky, Crystal Methyd can do a concept kooky, but she's not the greatest lip syncer.
No.
It's so funny because 2 all-stars in a row of this format, they are pushing hard for queens who lip syncing isn't necessarily their strongest suit. Not that they're bad, it's just not their strongest suit, and they expect us to buy into a win that requires them to finish off with the thing that isn't their strongest suit,
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, in a weird kind of way, what they should have done is just do like a ball, and Crystal would have been like, oh yeah, that was Crystal should have won that, Yeah, to me, it could have gone either way with the lip sync. It depends. It's an interpretation of that song where I think Joey did a very competent and very good traditional drag performance of that song, where Crystal went the kooky route. Maybe that speaks to Rue more. Look, the thing, that's what I'm saying. Ultimately, who wins this lip sync is a moot point, because when you look at the totality, why don't we just move on to that? So Crystal Methyd, she wins the lip sync, wins the crown. She's the winner. She's now in the Drag Race Hall of Fame. Let's go to the final question, which is, Taylor, any big thoughts, any big takeaway from this entire season?
I think this format, they need to do something to drastically change this format, because I found that while there were moments of fun to watch, there were looks that I loved. There was a couple of lip syncs that were great. There were some really great moments this season. I was bored through most of this season. I struggled with the constant point talk and the trying to manipulate, even it's gotten to where, last year we were like, oh, it's so great because once you start to get bored of the girls, a whole new group of girls comes in. The Selena bracket, I struggled to get through because I could not stand her, and I just feel like they need to do something different. It was a great idea, the idea of brackets last season and this season. I get that it's great that they did this. They need to mix things up. And I think something that they did in the semifinals of the MVQ, that might be the way to do this, because then it's not so much about, well, I'll give you points if you give me your point and all that kind of thing. It can be a little more where there's a little more privacy as to who you give your points to in the moment. Now, I know obviously the notebook comes out and everybody knows at that point, but it's something, the whole, when you figure of this season, probably 40% of it, if not more, was people talking about their points. I don't give a shit about that. Show me looks, show me drag, show me lip syncs, show me why these girls deserve to come back to an all-star season. Thank you.
First, to address what you just said, and then I'll go on to my own final point, is I'm not saying it's the only way, because this is just the first thing that pops into my head. Maybe someone very creative who sits down and thinks about this at length can think of other ways to spice up RuPaul's Drag Race, or at least the All-Stars format.
Yeah.
But the show has been around, the entire concept, the show has been around for almost 20 years. Mm-hmm. All right. It's proven itself. It's a thing. I think this isn't for me, and maybe again, there's other creative ways to do this, but a way to solve it in a natural way would be to go to an American Idol or The Voice kind of thing where it's done in real time with an audience vote. I don't think RuPaul wants to be tied up for that fucking long, because then it's genuinely 3 months of her life and not 3 weeks,
Yeah.
But I think you do a live version once a week with an audience vote, and the girls have the week in between to prepare, blah, 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 and all that nonsense. And I think that would really bring some excitement. And just so people know, and you can see the fine print in American Idol and The Voice and whatnot, the audience vote is not determinate. So American Idol might not agree with the vote. They can change it if they want. Right?
Yeah.
But so it gives the producer. I think that concept's too expensive for World of Wonder. Not that they really can't afford it. They just won't do it because they're cheap,
I also think that Ru is not going to give away that much power. I mean, even though it could be like you said with American Idol, where just because people vote for it doesn't mean that she's going to pick it. I think I can't see a world where it looks like it's anybody else's choice, because that was the whole thing in the early seasons. The final decision is mine and mine alone.
Yeah, but I think you've sort of answered your own, art question here. These aren't the early seasons anymore. Where Ru would go and know exactly who the queen was because she helped cast them and shake their hand and talk to them as a peer. And now she's so disconnected. She does not care. She does not give a shit. She doesn't even know that Ginger won the last season. She is so over this and so done and just collecting a paycheck. Again, like I said, she probably just doesn't want to do it because she doesn't want to be tied up for 3 months, And but that goes to my next thing, which is ultimately the problem, and this is what I've talked about for a long time, is one in which there needs to be fresh blood brought in, because it's not even like they have a favorite. Like, they did the exact same thing that they did last season. They were a little better at hiding it, or maybe Crystal was just a better contestant at it. But in Crystal's bracket, she was in the top at least for every fucking episode of the 3-episode arc. She never had to distribute her points, right? She won every challenge of the 2 competitive episodes in this run.
Right.
And it's like, oh, well, I'm not even sure that Ginger had that run, you know? And but if she didn't came, like, I think there might have been one episode where she wasn't in the top. I could be wrong though. I'd have to look.
Or she was in the top 2, but she didn't win.
Well, yeah, that happened with Crystal in the first bracket. She didn't win every one, but she was in the top 2. So it's like, it's clearly in the bag for Crystal, you know? And it's like, I don't know, man. It's like, why they care so little, but yet they want so much control that it's just as obvious as when Silky walks at the back of the stage to do a prop. And so I think you just relinquish control. You just let things. What's funny is the embarrassing thing that I don't think World of Wonder can ever admit, because then it shows how irrelevant the show is does it really mean anything besides the money who wins this show? It's not like they're truly launching, you know, America's next drag superstars. Anyone thinking about Willow Pill right now, you know? So, but yet they care so much about who wins. Let's just fucking leave it up to genuine chance. And whoever wins, wins. You know? I don't know if they're afraid of a Sanjaya situation. I don't know.
That's what I was thinking when you were talking. I was getting ready to say that with the leaving it up to the viewers. Do you get a Sanjaya?
Well, I'm sure situation? When Sanjaya finally left, the producers did step in, and because there was that big movement online where they're just voting him to vote for him. You know, yeah. I'm sure. I think that week Hiwari wasn't really supposed to go home. I think they were just like, this has to stop. This is getting ridiculous. You know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like either don't care and let the chips fall where they may, or care and give us a great fucking show. It has, yeah. But something has to change. And but you know what? Props to Crystal. I mean, Crystal did perform well. But again, it's like the same thing with Ginger. It's insulting to both Ginger and Crystal that the show genuinely didn't think that they could do it on their own, that they had to have some sort of handicap, you know, to help them. They even did it when they put her to the second round. They made up some cockamamie excuse about why she had to be in the second round. They could have done a random draw of the balls of who got to go to the second round. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want her to have to get points because they knew that might... Look, it was fucking... Crystal was in the top every week, and it was fucking close about whether she was going to get into the finale, into the final run.
Yeah.
Anyway, any other thoughts, Taylor?
No. I think that we've just about talked this season out.
Well, we do have some Q's and A's. Here we go. Here's the first one from Javier. There's 4 upvotes. Do you believe that they did not do Snatch Game for fear that Crystal wouldn't advance and Kennedy would snatch the crown?
I think that speaks to what we were just talking about, that if Crystal didn't do well, we would never know about it. I think that they would focus on other people that maybe didn't do as well, and if she got 1 or 2 good zingers in, they would have made sure to show those.
Didn't they do a version of Snatch Game for one of the brackets where they had to be celebrities? It wasn't Snatch Game Classic, but it was something where the girls had to be a celebrity during an impression.
I don't know.
There was something I remember that was
there was the drag, the RuPaul show where they had an interview.
Yes, that was Snatch Game in their head. I'm not saying it really was, but I think that was Snatch Game for them.
Yeah.
Okay. Pollyanne Marie asks, are winners picked based on who will honor their year of indentured servitude best? I don't know how I don't know if that's a funny question, but I really do think that with Ginger, I think that's closer to the truth. Ginger did a lot for World of Wonder, and I think they wanted to reward her. Look, here's the deal. The real solution is that there's people you want to reward, then you do a special one-off performance on Paramount, MTV, World of Wonder, one of the things where it's a one-time show. Where it's a classic Hall of Fame ceremony where like maybe girls, do it like baseball. They can't have been on a season in 5 years. And the audience votes on who should be in the Hall of Fame. The people who are nominated by World of Wonder, the audience votes, and then they announce who the winners are at this live event. And the girls get up, each of them, and does a number. And you give them their entrance into the Hall of Fame. It's a one-time special. End of story. The end. Right? And then they can award the people like Ginger and Raven instead of doing this, and Alyssa, and instead of doing these whole cockamamie involved contrived things to get them the crown and waste everybody's time and waste everybody's money and actually hurt their brand. Just do that and everyone would love it. Javier has another question. Is it time for is it time for All Stars Legacy featuring Queens 40 and older?
I would love something like that. I can't imagine a world where MTV would go along with something like that, only because they want to be like more youth oriented, or at least they did. I don't see a world where that actually happens. Though from what I understand, the last season, there was a lot of girls in their 30s and people seem to like that season.
Oh, they got rid of them right away. But,
okay.
Yeah. But I don't know if it has to do with it, because they could do that on some other platform, a Paramount Plus or something. Look, here's the sad reality. I don't think it's someone you cast with age. It's someone you cast with years of experience. And so what I mean is you could have a young person. Aquaria comes to mind. There was somebody else recently too. I think it was, what's her nuts, who was from the last season, who almost won. I can't remember her name. Juicy Love Dion, who is very young but has years of experience under her belt, right? And so you can be young. I think it goes with years of experience, because then on the flip side, you have this Sugar Cane who is old, right? But hasn't been doing it that long. And she's fucking boring, right?
Yeah.
But so because Aquaria was great TV, she was a very talented drag queen. And same thing with Juicy Love Dion. If you're looking at pure talent, I think it goes with years of experience, I would put. And then also, I think people just don't like the baby queens because they're like, I don't know anything. They think they know everything. But honestly, what you're going to do is you're going to get, and unfortunately, as the show has been on for 20 years, probably a lot of these queens are retired from the drag business, even if they're not that old for retirement age. Is people who were in it before Drag Race. That's honestly really what you want, is someone who, or before Drag Race became the institution that it is, where their drag, where the tail essentially started to wag the dog, where now RuPaul's Drag Race defines, unfortunately, what drag is. I think a smarter person would argue it just defines one style of drag, but in the mind of the general public, it is drag, right?
Right.
And I think you want to get queens like a Tamisha Iman. Look at the fucking, even though she's a horrible person, look, a lot of these people are horrible people. Jasmine Masters. Kennedy is a great example. People who were doing this before Drag Race, or at least before it became an institution, that's who you want on this show. Because even Aquaria, I think Drag Race was still new when she started. It wasn't that advanced. Same thing with Trixie and all of them. It was still new when they started doing drag. So anyway, there's the answer there. Trots wants to know, should Drag Race do something similar to Project Runway and disappear for a couple of years and come back?
I think it makes sense. I mean, it makes sense just because last season of Project Runway was great after it went away for a while. So it was enjoyable to watch. Yeah, I can't imagine. So taking a break, giving everybody a breather. We've talked about they send out all-star seasons way too fast. I can't see a world where Ru comes back to it, though.
Well, she might come back, but the deal is they'll lose a lot of people who work on because they have to go get other jobs. And therefore, that's a way of sort of gently forcing, instead of doing a massacre and just firing everybody and hiring somebody new. If you take a break, those people will go get other jobs and you hire a whole new crew, or a lot of them,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, guys, I sympathize imagine if I decided to get all new fresh blood and actually do the work that it takes to do that. For better or worse, my afterthought co-hosts have become a part of my family. I'm firing Taylor later, but imagine if I had to fire like Robert and Lori and Nathan and everybody because I felt the show was getting stale. It would be hard. It's gonna be hard when I do it in the fall. Anyway, probably we're gonna buzz through these next one. We're gonna make it really quick, Taylor. Here we go. If you had to be on Stop That Train, what would your character be?
I haven't seen Stop That Train yet, but I would probably be somebody. It's just one of the passengers. I don't know that I would be like one of the train attendants or anything like that. Though that would make sense if all the afterthought hosts were train attendants.
They're all train attendants.
They're all train attendants?
Yeah. The drag queens, that's the joke. They're all like flight attendants, but on the train.
Right. Okay, but I wouldn't... I'm not a drag queen. So if I was in the movie, what would I be?
I didn't live in New Zealand.
I would...
Sorry.
Joke answer, I would be the writer because those jokes are horrible and I would write those jokes. Look, I have a solution for Stop That Train. I will fucking say it on the air. Maybe I've already said this on the air. They should have done Stop That Train. Did I go on this whole tirade already about how it shouldn't have been... This is for another time. I want to get out of here. And I've probably already talked about this. Should Silky, Kennedy, or Kyria come back again if asked? Taylor, quick answer.
No.
Silky,
I think that at
Kennedy,
this point...
No, they shouldn't.
Or Kyria.
No.
They've all been back at least 3 times at this point. Or with their original season and 2 to 3 more. At this point, it's no. Because now you're going to say, if, say, Silky were to come back and she were to win, you're going to get people saying it was a pity win. And not, even with Kennedy, the same thing. I think that they can find other things for these 3 queens to do that are involved with the show that aren't necessarily being a contestant.
The correct. Go ahead.
I mean, we're seeing on, I guess, Canada All-Stars that a lot of the queens are coming back as judges. I know there's a lot of controversy over whether or not Ru would ever have another queen on the panel, but maybe that's where we start looking into that as a potential successor for when Ru decides she doesn't want to do the show anymore. I'm not saying any of them would actually be the successor, but kind of try it out with queens that have been on the show multiple times, or doing like if they break them up into teams, where they are like a captain of a team, similar to The Voice, of where you've got the main, you've got a team for each of the judges.
The correct answer is they need to do Drag Race HBDU. It's Drag U, but only with black girls. I like how I told Taylor, let's go through these fast, and now he's becoming Nathan. All right, Taylor, you truly have to be fast with this one. I feel like this is going to be your longest answer. Polyamory wants to know, why was the cake left out in the rain?
I don't have an answer. I'm sorry. I just don't think I could take it because it took so long to bake it. And I don't have that recipe again. And
then Katie, for some reason, as a Q&A wrote, this is literally what she wrote. Didn't even think of that, but maybe. All right. I don't have an answer for that, but okay. Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Okay, so that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next season for Drag Race Season 19 with myself and Nathan Patrick Brown. But for this, for Taylor Latte Boy and myself, is that how the conclusion goes? Whatever it is now.
Yeah. Sashay away until next season.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why customers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.